What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. It's been 10 years since I went through CDL school to get my CDL. So I got to thinking, with no studying and no preparation, would I still be able to pass a written exam? So today, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So I found this free CDL practice test, and I'm gonna take that test to see how much I remember after 10 years of trucking since I've been out of school. So feel free to follow along to see how many questions you get right. Let's go. All right, on to the first question. Which of the following statements about alertness while driving is true? The only thing that will help you overcome fatigue is rest. 80 milligrams of caffeine can provide up to 2 hours of alert driving. Cold medicine often provides the driver with a renewed sense of alertness, and loud music can keep you awake during nighttime driving. Well, I know that the answer is the only way to get rid of fatigue is to sleep. However, if times are getting tough and you're just trying to make it through that last little bit, some loud music, rolling the window down will definitely help.
We got ourselves a nodder.
But for the sake of the test, we'll click the right answer. All right, on to the next question. We're doing good so far. Question 2, cargo inspection should occur at each of the following times except before you start the trip, within the first 50 miles of the start of the trip, after 2 hours of nonstop driving, after every break you take while driving. Okay, so I know before the start of the trip, that's a pre-trip inspection. I seem to remember it being once upon a time within the first 100 miles, so I'm gonna go ahead and say this first 50 miles is good. This one's worded a little weird. It says after 2 hours of nonstop driving, and then finally after every break you take while driving. Now, after every break you take while driving, it's probably a good idea if you're parking the truck somewhere just to make sure nobody's tampered with the load or anything. So I'm thinking that that might be the third one that's okay. Okay, so because we're looking for the exception, I'm gonna go ahead and click this one. I could be wrong. Hey, look at that, got it right. Question 3, if you are experiencing drowsiness while driving, the only safe cure is to... So this one seems exactly like question 1, so my senses are extra heightened. And the options are consume caffeine, roll down the window, get off the road and sleep, and turn on the air conditioner. Again, for the sake of the question, I know it's gonna be this one, but honestly, getting a little bit of Red Bull or coffee, rolling down the window, it can definitely help you try to get through your day a little better. But you should know your body well enough to know, okay, it's not safe for me to drive anymore, and definitely get off the road and sleep. All right, we're doing good. 3 questions down, all right so far. Question number 4, during a front wheel skid, the front end of the vehicle will almost always go in a blank direction no matter how much the driver tries to steer or turn the wheel. Okay, so if your front wheel is sliding, no amount of turning is gonna do anything, but the question is which direction will it go? And just from my experience, it's gonna continue to go in the direction that you were moving to start with, which generally is straight. However, if you're in a turn going left or right, it's gonna follow where it starts to slide and keep the momentum moving forward. But for the sake of the question, I'm gonna go ahead and guess straight. All right, 4 questions down, let's keep going. Number 5, when securing cargo on a flatbed trailer, no matter how small the cargo, you should always have at least blank tie downs to secure it. Now, I'm not sure how this is general knowledge for everybody. However, I do know that the answer is 2. Okay, question number 6. Blank are used to protect people from spilling cargo. The options are cargo straps, cargo covers, cargo netting, and cargo blocks. Okay, it specifically said spilled cargo, so I'm gonna go ahead and guess cargo netting. Oh no, I got it wrong. Okay, so cargo covers, I'm thinking tarps with that. That's all right, we only got 1 question wrong. Let's keep on moving. While driving on a 2-lane road, an oncoming driver is heading straight for your vehicle. To avoid a collision, you should, number 1, brake hard using the stab braking method, steer to the left to avoid leaving the paved road, steer to the right and utilize the shoulder, or brace yourself for impact.
This is the captain. Brace for impact.
Okay, so in a big truck, especially weighing 80,000 pounds, sometimes less, it takes forever to slow down, so braking isn't really going to change a whole lot. So the best course of action is to maneuver. But the question is, should you steer left to avoid leaving the paved road or steer right to utilize the shoulder? Well, it kind of all depends on the situation. Sometimes there's not a shoulder, but I would say if a road is a general interstate, you should definitely go towards the shoulder, not towards the other driver. All right, we're back on track with the right answer. Let's keep moving. Hard steering and damage to the tires is often a result of not enough weight on the steering axle, too much weight on the steering axle, not enough weight on the drive axles, or too much weight on the drive axles. All right, so if there's a lot of weight on the drive axles, that's actually going to cause less weight on the steer tires. If there's not enough weight on the drive axles, I would definitely assume there's too much weight on the trailer tires. That really shouldn't factor into the steer tires a whole lot. So I'm going to go ahead and say too much weight on the steering axle. Look at that. 8 questions down, only 1 miss. Let's keep going. You have been assigned to deliver hazardous materials that requires a placard. However, you do not have a hazardous material endorsement on your commercial driver's license. What should you do? Only take the load if the trip is less than 50 miles. Only transport the materials if the situation is considered an emergency. Deliver the load to the nearest driver with a hazardous material endorsement. Or refuse to move the cargo. This one's a pretty obvious question. Refuse to move the cargo, and we're moving along. Which of the following is the most effective plan of action to take if your vehicle catches fire while you're driving? This one has actually happened to me, and I'll leave a card up above if you want to check out the story of how my truck caught fire. But let's go ahead and read through these options. Accelerate, allowing strong winds to distinguish the flame. Pull to an open area to avoid spreading the fire. Find a place with trees or overhang to block the wind from spreading the fire. Shut off your air conditioner to allow your engine to cool more easily. Some of these answers are funny. And this one's pretty obvious. You want to pull to an open area to avoid spreading the fire. Or if you're driving down the road, on the shoulder would do. 10 questions down and we're going strong. On to number 11. If you've had 2 drinks, each with 1 ounce of alcohol, it will typically take your body about blank hours to remove the alcohol from your system. Now this one's tough as it's really not a big factor. If you just don't drink and drive, you shouldn't even have to think about it. So over the last 10 years, it's not really been a thought for me to have to figure out how many hours it takes. But 2 drinks, in my opinion, means 2 hours to sober up. Oh no. Okay, so the human liver can generally process 1/3 of an ounce of alcohol an hour. So it takes 6 hours to process the 2 ounces of alcohol in those drinks. Okay, so that's interesting. But again, I'm going to give myself a little bit of grace because I just don't drink and drive, so I don't even think about it. If I do decide to have a drink, I'm definitely not picking up the keys for about 24 hours, so I really don't ever think about how much alcohol I can drive with. All right, question 12. You have been asked to drive a vehicle transporting hazardous materials and the cargo does not require a placard. What requirements must you meet before transporting this hazardous material? You need at least 10 years of driving experience. You have to pass the hazardous materials certification exam. You must have a hazardous materials endorsement on your CDL. No additional certifications or endorsements are required to transport this cargo. Okay, this one's similar to the other question. You're just going to need your hazmat to be able to transport that. Oh no! Man, I got that wrong too. No additional certifications or endorsements are required to transport this cargo. If the hazardous materials do not require a placard for transportation, you do not need any certifications or endorsements to transport the load. Well, I'd be curious what hazardous materials don't require a placard. Maybe something like honey if people are allergic to bees or something? Question number 13. While driving, it is important to shift your attention and focus as far to the left and as far right as the road will allow, from the center of the road to the furthest reach of your peripheral vision, back and forth between the center line on the right, back and forth near and far. I mean, all of these answers sound pretty fair. Normally for me, I'm checking my mirrors, I'm looking all around me. So I'm gonna go ahead and select back and forth near and far. Yay, finally, a question right after 2 wrong. Tie downs are used to secure loads on flatbed trailers. To keep the cargo from shifting, every blank feet of cargo should have at least 1 tie down. Now, I've always heard every 8 feet requires a tie down. However, over time, laws can change too. So I'm gonna go ahead and select the next best option, which would be 5. Oh man, it's every 10 feet needs cargo. Maybe I need to do some studying and refresh my knowledge on some of this stuff. If your vehicle has overheated and you need to remove the radiator cap, you can tell that it's cool enough to open if the vehicle has enough coolant in its system, The gauge shows low temperature. You can touch the cap with your bare hand without injury. You can see coolant in the overflow containers. I mean, to me, the only safe way to check that is to look at the temperature gauges. I'm starting to question the validity of this test. You can touch the cap with your bare hand without injury. Well, what happens if it's too hot and you touch the cap with injury? That doesn't seem very smart. If your vehicle has overheated, it's important to never remove the radiator cap if you have a pressurized system. This can cause severe injury. If the cap is cool to the touch, it's probably safe to remove the cap. All right, well, I am doing terribly. Question 16. To avoid mechanical damage, it's important to engage the parking brake once you take your foot off the brake, speed up in a smooth, gradual manner, provide plenty of power to the engine by accelerating quickly, roll slightly backwards before pressing the accelerator gradually. All right, the only one that makes sense is this one. All right, we finally got one right. Let's hope we can turn this thing around because I'm not feeling very confident. I started out feeling really confident. Now I'm not feeling so hot. What is stab braking? Braking hard to lock the wheels, braking hard to unlock the wheels, repetitively applying brakes and releasing when the wheels lock up, repetitively applying the brakes and releasing just before the wheels lock up. So I know stab braking is pressing the brake pedal again and again. So I know answer B and C have to be one of the correct answers. But the question is, when should you release it? When the wheels lock up or just before the wheels lock up? I'm gonna go ahead and take a guess on this one. I'm not sure which one it is. In my opinion, how do you know when the wheels are gonna lock up? So this one might very well could be wrong. Oh man, I had a feeling. Okay, that one was fair. I had a feeling it was gonna be this one.
Stupid man! A stupid man!
On to the next question, and it's not looking pretty. When braking on a steep downgrade, you should repeatedly brake and bring your speed to blank miles per hour below the designated safe speed for that hill. The options are 20 miles per hour, 10 miles per hour, 5 miles per hour, or 15 miles per hour. And again, this one for me is going to be a crapshoot. This is memorizing numbers, but I'm going to give my best guess and select 10 miles below the safe speed for that hill. Oh man, that one was 5 miles below the safe speed for that hill. Maybe I shouldn't do this video. All right, well, it's not looking pretty at all. Let's keep on going. I'm starting to get a little disappointed here. When driving on a long downhill grade, downshifting can cause severe damage to your clutch, slow the vehicle using engine compression and friction, help the vehicle maintain fuel efficiency, overheat the brake pads, which might require you to stop until they cool. Okay, this one's obvious. Slow the vehicle using engine compression and friction. However, when you're going downhill is not the time to downshift. You should be already in a lower gear at the start of the downward hill. That one I knew. Okay, question 20. You are driving a 40-foot truck at 50 miles per hour. If the road is dry and visibility is good, what is the minimum space you should keep between yourself and the vehicle in front of you? So 50 miles an hour, it's either 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds, or 10 seconds. And to be honest, I don't remember what the calculation is for it. I just know I like to keep 2 to 3 car lengths between me and the vehicle in front of me. So I'm gonna go ahead and guess here. I'm probably wrong, but I'm guessing that it's 7 seconds. Yeah, I was wrong. 5 seconds is the minimum. So if I remember right, I think the beginning number that's right here is what that first number should be. So if you're going 60 miles per hour, it should be 6 seconds, so on and so forth. Okay, so it gives an explanation here. For every 10 feet of vehicle length, you should allow 1 second of space between yourself and the car in front of you. However, if you're traveling more than 40 miles per hour, you need to add 1 additional second. This situation would require a minimum of 5 seconds of space ahead. Man, that's another one that my time away from the schooling is really having a bad impact on, because I don't remember the exact calculations for it. I just drive the truck and keep a safe distance. After a while of driving, you begin to learn your truck and know how long it takes to stop it, and you can make adjustments based off of that. So right now we've missed a total of 8 questions out of 20. I would estimate if I were to take this test again today, I would be in the failing status. But let's keep on going and get through these 50 questions. Blank is the action of turning the wheel back in the other direction once you've cleared a hazardous or traffic emergency. The options are countering, counter turning, counter steering, or oversteering. And this one, I believe it's counter steering. Yay, we got another one right. Question 22. If the road has become covered in black ice, which of the following would be the best action to take? Downshift to reduce your speed, stop driving as soon as it's safe to do so, tap the brakes repetitively to avoid skidding or loss of traction, apply the brakes through all curves to maintain traction. Okay, so anytime there's ice, brakes are really not your friend. So I would suggest downshifting to reduce your speed. Let's see if that one's right. Okay, so it went with the obvious answer, stop driving until it's safe to do so. However, you gotta stop somehow. How are you gonna stop? That's why I selected that one.
What do you think? You can't do anything.
All right, question 23. Testing the stopping action of your service brake should be done only during times when your air pressure is greater than normal, at a designated service brake facility, when moving at approximately 5 miles per hour, or by setting the parking brake and using a lower gear. Okay, so this is part of your air brake test, and you should test that by rolling forward at approximately 5 miles per hour. Yay, I got another one right. While driving a manual truck, you should use your blink to help figure out the best times to upshift. The options are tachometer, speed limit, accelerator, or retarder. And this one's obvious, it's the tachometer or your RPMs. All right, question 25. While driving a truck with a manual transmission, you're forced to stop on the right-hand shoulder of an uphill grade. When you're ready to re-enter traffic, which of the following strategies will help you put the vehicle back in motion? Press the accelerator firmly to ensure your vehicle gains enough momentum to move forward. Use the parking brake so the vehicle doesn't roll backwards, and release it once you've engaged the clutch. Allow the vehicle to slowly roll backwards as you engage the clutch. This will ensure a smooth takeoff. Make sure you turn your blinker to signal to other drivers that you're about to re-enter traffic. Okay, so you should definitely use the parking brake so the vehicle doesn't roll backwards, and release it once you've engaged the clutch, specifically when you're getting ready to start rolling again. But you also want to make sure you turn on your blinker to signal to other drivers that you want to re-enter traffic. But the question is, which of the following strategies will help you put the vehicle back in motion? But pressing the accelerator firmly to ensure your vehicle gains enough momentum to move forward, you don't want to do that in a truck. In a car, you do want to give it a little gas before you start releasing the clutch. But in a truck, generally there's enough torque in the engine just to slowly let off the clutch pedal and let off the brake at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and select use the parking brake so it doesn't roll backwards. Yay, I got another one right. All right, halfway through these 50 questions, I've got 9 wrong. Let's see if we can change this trajectory of this test. If you must steer to avoid impact on a multi-lane road because there's not enough time to stop, which of the following is the best action to take? Steer to the left lane, steer to the right shoulder, brake hard to lessen the impact, downshift to reduce your speed. Okay, so you always want to utilize the shoulder as there's generally no traffic on the shoulder. If you were to steer into the left lane, there's a chance that you could hit another car. So I'm going to steer onto the shoulder. Question 27. When driving a newer truck with a manual transmission, you come upon a long, steep downhill grade. You will probably have to use blank gear that you use to climb the hill. The options are the same gear, a lower gear, a higher gear, a neutral. Well, you definitely don't want a neutral gear. That'll get you rolling down the hill at a crazy speed. You don't want to go higher because the RPMs are going to increase. So it's either the same or a lower gear. And I'm going to go ahead and guess a lower, and the reason for that is because you don't know what the grade is going up the hill. It could be different than what it is going down. Okay, we got that one right. Phew. Question 28. When you're driving in very hot temperatures, it's important to inspect your tires every 2 hours or 100 miles. Allow your tires to cool by using higher rates of speed. Expect a decrease in tire pressure. Avoid driving through cities. Okay, so you wouldn't get a decrease in tire pressure in hot temperatures. You'd actually get an increase in pressure because in the winter you actually lose some air pressure. Allow your tires to cool by using higher rates of speed doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because you're creating friction with the road. Avoid driving through cities doesn't really make a whole lot of sense either. So I'm gonna go ahead and inspect the tires every 2 hours or 100 miles. Okay, we got that one right. All right, let's keep it moving. Be sure to check the blank fluid level during your pre-trip inspection of the engine compartment. Power steering fluid, temperature gauge, hydraulic brake, or brake chamber. Okay, you should definitely check all of these things, but the only one that's actually fluid out of this list is power steering fluid. All right, that one was a pretty easy one. Let's keep on moving. Which of the following statements about alcohol consumption is false? A 12-ounce glass of beer has the same alcohol content as a half-ounce shot of 80 proof liquor. Alcohol consumption impairs both reaction time and depth perception. Coffee will not help you become sober more quickly. Having a blood alcohol concentration of 0.04 or below means that you are capable of driving. Okay, so I know 0.04 is the limit for being able to drive a truck, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are capable of driving. I'm gonna go ahead and select this one. Yay! All right, question 31. Judgment and self-control are affected by a high blood alcohol concentration, the duration of a trip, inclement weather and hazardous road conditions, the number of years of experience a driver has. Well, honestly, I would say both A and B. Blood alcohol content can affect judgment and self-control, but honestly, I've had some very long days where I've started to lose my patience very quickly, and at that time I knew it was time to pull off the road, so that one can definitely be true as well. But for the sake of the test, let's go ahead and select this one. Yay, another one right. We are on a roll with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 correct in a row. That's the biggest streak we've had so far. Let's keep it going. During an emergency braking situation, skidding tires means your vehicle is braking effectively, your brakes are overheating, you no longer have control of your vehicle, your tires have excellent tread levels. Okay, so it's not your tread levels are good and your braking is effective. So let's go ahead and select you no longer have control of your vehicle. And that one's correct. Question 33. If you see a vehicle marked by a red triangle with an orange center, you know that vehicle is an official government transport, contains a group of children greater than 20, is designated to transport disabled people or medical equipment, will be traveling at a much slower speed. Yeah, you'll see this a whole lot in like Ohio, Pennsylvania area with horse-drawn carriages. And that's the slow signal. Number 34, you should do all of the following during times of high winds except be extra attentive to the wind's forces when exiting a tunnel, avoid driving alongside other cars if possible, use extra caution when driving lighter vehicles, or brake often to reduce the wind's effect on your vehicle. Well, to me, all of these seem right. However, you should just be driving pretty slow in general and not braking to reduce the wind's effects on your vehicle. Yay, another one right. Let's keep it moving. When following another vehicle, it's important to remember that your heavier weight means you'll need more stopping distance. You should keep at least 4 seconds of space between you and the car in front of you. You should begin braking as soon as you see the car use their blinker. You should have 2 seconds of space for every 10 feet of trailer on your vehicle. Okay, by using some reasoning from a previous question, I'm gonna go ahead and assume this one. However, I feel like question A could be right as well. Your heavier weight means you'll need more stopping distance. But I think last time I went ahead and went with what I thought they wanted to hear, I ended up being wrong. So I'm gonna follow my gut on this one and actually select A. Yay, look at that, it actually worked. Question 36, when road conditions are ideal, what is the least amount of space you should keep between yourself and the car in front of you if you're driving a 50-foot vehicle at 50 miles an hour? Okay, now this one for sure, I know we can use the logic from the previous question, and it said for every 10 feet of vehicle, you should have 1 second of stopping distance, but anything over 40 miles an hour, you should add an additional second for stopping distance. So this one would be 6. Look at that, we're learning. A turn signal should be used, number 1, early to let other drivers know your intentions, to mark your truck if you're forced to stop on the side of the road, as a signal to other drivers to let them know traffic is flowing in front of you, to signal other trucks that they may safely merge into the lane in front of you. Okay, so this one could be tricky for some people, but to mark your vehicle if you're forced to stop on the side of the road, you wouldn't use a turn signal for this, you would use your 4 ways. So that means for me, I think the answer is number A, or letter A. Look at that, we are on a massive roll here. Before taking a trip, you need to inspect your tires. Which of the following problems would require immediate action? A 4/32 inch tread depth on front tires, valve stems have been cut, tread separation, no fabric is visible through the tread or sidewall. Okay, so to need immediate action means you're not doing anything till it gets fixed, and that one's gonna have to be valve stems have been cut. No way, how is that wrong?
What?
Before taking a trip, you need to inspect your tires. Which of the following problems would require immediate action? If your valve stems have been cut, you don't have any air pressure in your tires. If your tire shows tread separation, which is when the tread of the tire pulls away from the tire's casing, you should immediately take steps to find a new, more suitable tire. Okay, so this one's a trick question. That one's not very fair. If your valve stems are cut, you're not going anywhere till that gets fixed either. That one made me mad. I'm still saying that I'm at 9 questions. This test is making me upset. Number 39, if a driving emergency forces you to leave the road at any time, which of the following strategies will help you? Avoid using your brakes until you've dropped your speed to about 30 miles per hour. If possible, keep all 4 wheels on the same type of ground material, whether it be dirt or road. Avoid the shoulder of the road, which often contains debris and other potential hazards. Use only light pressure on your brakes to avoid skidding on loose surfaces. Okay, this one says all 4 wheels. Semi-trucks have way more than 4 wheels, so I'm gonna rule out that one. You should definitely utilize the shoulder of the road if there's an emergency, so we can rule out C as well. So the question is it avoid using brakes until you've dropped your speed to about 30 miles per hour, or use light pressure on your brakes to avoid skidding on loose surfaces? I'm gonna go ahead and use light pressure. Yay, look at that. We got that one right too. Question 40, while en route, you need to complete regular inspections of which of the following? Cargo weight, signs of overheating, a working fire extinguisher, or spare electrical fuses. Okay, so 3 of these are not going to change en route. Cargo weight's not going to change. However, as you start to burn through fuel, your truck will get a little bit lighter. A working fire extinguisher should be checked before you leave, and spare fuses should be checked before you leave. En route, you should look for signs of overheating. All right, 40 questions down, 10 to go. Blank trucks need more stopping distance because their weight causes them to have less traction. Empty trucks, heavy trucks, speeding, or manual engine. Okay, an empty truck will have less traction than a heavy truck, so I believe it's empty. Look at that. Question 42. If you must turn quickly to avoid an accident, it's important to only turn enough to clear what is in the way because turning smoothly helps you slow the vehicle more easily. Drivers behind you may need to use the extra room outside of your turn radius. Other drivers may not realize your intentions. Turning sharply increases your chances of skidding or a rollover. Okay, I'm gonna guess this last one here, and we are on a good track. 43, you pull up to a stop sign during some light rain and there's not much traction on the ground. When you begin to accelerate again, your wheel starts to spin. What should you do next? Release the handbrake, slowly increase the pressure on the gas pedal, remove all pressure from the gas pedal, gradually apply pressure to the brake pedal. Okay, so if you begin to skid, you want to let off of the gas pedal and then slowly put it back on. So I'm gonna select remove all pressure from gas pedal. Ding, 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 got that one right too. While driving through the snow, your windshield wipers become ineffective because they are not close enough to the window to scrape off snow. What should you do? Pull to the side of the road to safely fix the issue. Turn the wiper speed to its highest setting. Keep driving until the snow stops and the wipers are no longer needed. Spray the windshield washer fluid. Okay, so I found spraying the washer fluid rarely helps. You could turn on the highest setting briefly and that might fix it, but most likely you'll have to pull off to the side of the road and smack the windshield wipers against the window a few times to break it free. Question 45. Blank help to slow down a vehicle and reduce the need to use brakes. Retarders, tire chains, upshifts, or trailers. Okay, the correct answer for this is retarders or engine brakes or Jake brakes, whatever you want to call it, same concept. When your vehicle hydroplanes, you should take your foot off the gas pedal and push the clutch to allow the wheels to spin. Slowly press the brakes to reduce speed and the likelihood of jackknifing. Slowly apply the brakes and turn into the direction that your vehicle is sliding. Take your foot off the gas pedal to direct your vehicle towards the edge of the road. Okay, so this one for me is going to be a complete guess, but I'm going to go ahead and guess A. Look at me go. Take your foot off the gas pedal to push the clutch to allow the wheels to spin. The explanation on this one is if your vehicle begins to hydroplane, you should take your foot off the accelerator and press the clutch. This will allow the wheels to spin freely as opposed to skidding out of control. Okay, cool. Question 47. You are forced to pull to the right side of the road and need to place your reflective triangles. The road is level and straight. What distance should each of the three triangles be from your vehicle? Okay, the options are A, 10 feet from the rear of the vehicle, 50 feet from the rear of the vehicle, and 100 feet from the rear of the vehicle. The next option is 10 feet from the rear of the vehicle, 100 from the rear of the vehicle, and 150 from the rear of the vehicle. Third one is 20 feet, 50 feet, and 100 feet. And finally, the last one is 10 feet, 100 feet, 200 feet. And this one is just based off of memory. It's 10, 100, and the next one should be another 100 foot after that. All right, number 48. There is a vehicle in the road ahead of you, and without action, you will collide with this vehicle. Which of these rules will help you most in this situation? Braking is always the safest way to avoid a collision. Turning is usually quicker than stopping when trying to avoid an obstacle. Top-heavy vehicles tend to jackknife, so don't turn. Moving to the left or oncoming lanes will give you extra space needed to stop. Okay, and then we're looking for a rule, and the rule is turning is usually quicker than stopping when trying to avoid an obstacle. All right, question 49. When inspecting your wheels and rims, you notice that a few lug nuts have rust streaks. This is an indication that the lug nuts are about to crack, the lug nuts are probably loose, the lug nuts are too old for use, the lug nuts are going to be difficult to remove. Now, knowing this from a pre-trip inspection, you want to check for rust trails that indicate looseness. That one's B. All right, last question. In general, high beams should only be used when it is safe and legal to use them, when you're not within 200 feet of another vehicle, to signal to oncoming traffic that they have their high beams on as well, only during daytime and inclement weather. Okay, for this one, you want to avoid blinding other people, so I'm gonna, so option A and B are probably both right. However, the last question that I had that was a super basic answer or a more detailed answer, it ended up being the more basic answer, so I'm gonna go with the more basic answer on this one. And look at that, I got it right. All right, let's go ahead and check out the results and see how I did. Nice work, you passed. 40 correct, 10 incorrect. You need to score an 80% or higher to pass this Tennessee DMV practice test. So I just barely passed at an 80%. Phew, that was a lot tougher than I anticipated it being. I had a lot of confidence going into it, and within the first 10 questions, I was grossly humbled. So I started taking a little bit more time to pay attention to the questions and the wording, and it seemed to work out a lot better. So even though just barely, after 10 years of driving, I can still pass a CDL test. But based off of these results and only passing at the minimum level, I'm definitely gonna go back and refresh my memory on a few of these things that I missed. And if you followed along with this test, how many questions did you get right? Let me know down in the comments below. All right, bye.